Hi, today I'm going to be talking about why hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. Making contact is hard enough, and the thought of making solid contact seems impossible. The diameter of a baseball is about 3 inches in diameter. The diameter of a wood bat, which is used by the professional league players, is 2.61 inches at max. Then there's the strike zone. The strike zone has a width of 17 inches and a height of about 36 inches, varying depending on how tall you are, from knee to chest. Now, not only are you hitting one straight pitch, you're hitting multiple different pitches with different speeds. The first pitch that mainly pitchers use is a four-seam fastball. In the MLB, the average of a four-seam fastball is about 95 miles per hour. The batter would have 0.43 seconds to react whether if they want to swing or not. Just to put this into perspective, blinking takes about 0.33 seconds. So pretty much if you blink while a fastball is coming, by the time you open your eyes, it will pretty much be at you. Not only is there one type of fastball, but there are many. There is a two-seam fastball that runs into righties and away from lefties if a right-hander pitcher is throwing, and opposite for a left-handed pitcher. And there's also a cut fastball, which goes into lefties and away from righties if a right-handed pitcher is throwing, and opposite for a lefty. There is also a sinker, which is one of the hardest pitches to hit in baseball. It is a sinking fastball that goes down into righties from a right-handed pitcher and down and away from left-handed hitters. Then there's off-speed pitches. There's a changeup that comes in at about roughly 85 miles per hour, varying on depending the pitcher. And this is a pitch that moves vertically down about 2 to 3 inches per pitch, varying on pitcher. There's also a curveball. Our curveball is one of the hardest pitches to hit in baseball, along with the sinker. A curveball comes in at about roughly 77 miles per hour. This does give you a little more time to react, but when you're sitting for fastball, it is almost impossible to adjust your stance. So a normal curveball drops about 14 inches, but it also not only moves vertically, but moves horizontally from the batter. With this, the pitch is usually pitched about 0.21% of the time, and about 0.19% of the time, the batters actually make contact with the ball. 60% of the time, it is a strike, and about 40% of the times, it is a ball, and 29% of the time, the ball is fouled off and not put in play when swung. With all these pitches, it isn't even half the amount of pitches thrown in the MLB. There is also a 12-6 curveball, which is thrown by one of the greatest pitchers to our day, Clayton Kershaw. His 12-6 curveball moves about 36 inches vertically up down. There is also a slider, which is a mix between a slider and a curveball with the same vertical movement as a curveball, but also the slide of a slider. There is also a slider, which is like a curveball but does not drop as much and moves more horizontally. Then there is a forkball, which is another form of a changeup. A 12-6 curveball, which we mentioned earlier, was thrown by Clayton Kershaw, also has another pitch called a palm ball. It's exactly like the 12-6 curveball, but does not drop as much, almost like a curveball, but does not cut as much. Then the hardest pitch to throw in baseball, which is the knuckleball, has no regular movement and moves like this. It has no direct up, down, left, right. It moves different for every pitch and every pitcher. One of the greats of all time, Ted Williams, gave this quote: "I think without question the hardest single thing to do in sports is hit a baseball. A 300 hitter, the rarest of breeds these days, goes through life with the certainty that he will fail at his job 7 out of 10 times. Now to be a 300 hitter pretty much secures your spot in the Hall of Fame." I've played baseball, football, and basketball my whole life competitively and some for fun. Hitting a baseball is almost impossible to do and hit it squarely. Slumps come out of nowhere, and even to some of the best, slumps can come and go. The joy it brings when you square up a ball, even against impossible odds, is nothing like I've ever noticed. Some may say ice hockey or boxing is some of the hardest things in sports to do. Well, with my own knowledge, I believe hitting a baseball is the hardest thing in sports to do. Thank you.